What up? It's your dude Tank Lip. I got cut off on the camera. What's new? This is part 2 of the blog, my review for the movie Top 5. So I was talking about, how Chris Rock returns to the comedy club at one point, and does some stand-up, and he feels alive again. And, not that this was necessarily such a, like, the actual stand-up that he does, in that scene is funny. The point that I'm about to make, like my review or, analyzing this shit is not as funny, but I think it's just equally as deep as it is, as his stand-up was funny, is, like if you at that crossroads in your career where you don't really know which road do you go down and shit. Like sometimes you gotta bring it back to your roots just to come alive again. So he's this movie star in the movie, all the funny shit he did, whatever, stand-up movies, he was always drunk or lifted on some trees and shit. And he's doubting himself. He's at this crossroads. Now that he's sober, he's not drinking no more. Can he actually be funny? Can he do it? And so it was a relevant scene that Rosario Dawson's character brings him to this comedy club. I guess the comedy club where they're trying to, infer that that's where it all started for him or whatever. Regardless, that's how he started, was doing stand-up at a comedy club. And it's you gotta sometimes bring it back to your roots just to come alive again, just to grow again. And so that's a deep metaphor of the movie. I like that shit. That's applicable to any person. Don't matter if you white or black, Spanish, Arab, or, this is applicable values for and lessons for the world. This is on some dope shit. So there's also a scene, let me tell you, the way you predict shit, in a rap battle, whatever, the winner, you predict the line, you do that shit in movies too when you're watching it. You just got that psychic sense, you either want something to happen, you really believe that's what's gonna happen at the end of the movie. Chris Rock got, some wife-to-be and shit, Rosario Dawson, and she got some boyfriend that actually turns out to be gay, whatever, but as they're walking through this movie together, they're doing a lot of walking in this movie. First of all, they burn some serious calories, not that they needed to. Fucking Rosario Dawson, straight beautiful in this movie, Chris Rock skinny. They didn't need to burn no calories, but they did a lot of walking. I'm just gonna say that. So I'm thinking, these two need to hook the fuck up. They just had that tension in the movie. You were going to feel good as the audience. If you see them hook the fuck up. That's how good the tension, that sexual tension was, that vibe. You wanted them to. So at this one point in the movie, towards the end, Rosario Dawson kind of fuck Chris Rock over. He angry at her. She's angry at him. They fighting. They about to tell each other, flick the bird type shit. Go fuck off. And then right as that's about to happen, they fucking finally kiss. And then they end up in a bathroom, about to fuck. And, it was just dope. Just saying. I wanted that shit to happen. They just looked like they needed to do that shit, work some shit out. But they don't fuck in that bathroom. And I just thought this was kind of funny. They don't fuck, but she got her hands on his dick. He got his hands in her pants. And they want to do it so bad, but they conflicted, so they decide they're not going to do it, but they want to so bad, so they literally count to 3. 1, 2, 3 for him to take his hand out her pants and her hand out off his dick and shit. And I just thought that was kind of classic and funny. Y'all probably at some point in your life been in that moment where you want to do some shit so bad, it's against what's probably the right thing to do maybe for circumstances, and you gotta literally do a countdown just to fucking get yourself off that compulsion and shit, to not do it. So that was some classic shit. Jerry Seinfeld, shouts to the man, he was in this movie. throwing $100 bills. You know, he was making it rain in the strip club. I just thought that was classic. You know, personally, I watched Seinfeld for like 9-10 years that it was on, and then the reruns after that. You know, I know a lot of folks, like, these days, they might be like, yo, Seinfeld was corny, but he was my dude. You know, so I just wanted to mention he was in, and how fucking ironic that fucking Jerry Seinfeld of all people is making it, out of all the people that was in that movie, and then in that scene, even in particular, Jerry Seinfeld's the one making it rain with hundreds and money, you know, in the strip club. Then I just want to comment on the fact that Jerry Seinfeld, Adam Sandler, and Whoopi Goldberg, and Chris Rock all in one scene, to me, that's like bringing it back to Heat, that movie Heat, when you had Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in one fucking scene. Like in that coffee shop scene, you know, when he's like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and when the heat comes around, I'm packing my bags and I'm gone. Like, you remember that De Niro and Pacino shit from Heat? Like, that was the classic. Like, there was all the Pacino movies and all the De Niro movies. It was like building up, and then you had, when did you see them except for like some Godfather shit, like, you know, in the same scene? You know what I'm saying? Like, so Heat was legendary, and like all these people, Seinfeld, Sandler, Whoopi Goldberg, and Chris Rock, that's like this movie's version of that Heat scene. So I just thought that was legendary. This movie was already classic for all these reasons I'm citing to you. But, you know, to have all those cats in one scene, like, that was ridiculous. Not to mention the fucking scene with fucking Chris Rock and fucking Tracy Morgan and all the other cats that was in that. I mean, there's a lot of classic scenes. The Chris Rock scene with fucking Cedric the Entertainer and all that crazy shit when, you know, Chris Rock, you know, if you haven't seen the movie, Chris Rock and Cedric the Entertainer, they run the train on these two chicks, and that was just a classic scene too. So, here's another thing I want to point out. There was a scene in the movie where this one dude, he's a black man, I think it was actually Kevin Hart, actually, in this particular scene. He's talking about how another black man owns the publishing company, you know, publicizing company, whatever, and he could get fired for saying nigger to another nigger. You know, he had to actually close the door to say nigger, and I just thought, you know, it was brilliant illustrations how they pointed out the comedy in that, and for all the reasons why that's funny, and all the racist undertones in that a black man can't even get away with using the word nigger, and it's the black man that owns his own company. It's a policy in this black man's company that a black man can't call another black man nigger, and vice versa and shit. Yo, they was just clowning. It was dope. I mean, they're like, once again, these are not like, you know, fall on the floor like pissing your pants type funnies, but you chuckle, you're like, yo, that is funny type shit, and you're just like, it's just funny, and it's clever. The movie's very clever. There's a comment from Chris Rock, you know, again, he's walking through this movie. They just stopping everywhere, you know, visiting old friends and shit. And there's one scene, him and Chris Rock and Rosario Dawson's character, you know, they in this apartment with Tracy Morgan and other people, and Chris Rock's old girlfriend in the movie is saying how she's regretful, you know, if she knew that he was going to be so successful, you know, she wouldn't have yelled at him for playing PlayStation back when they was dating. She would have built him a PlayStation. And just, you know, on some gold digging shit. Like, it's just so funny. Like, just people's values, and like, you know, that's why she was regretful that she wasn't with him. Not because he